Hello and welcome to a brand new podumentary, one that we think you'll find very exciting, especially if you're interested in education, faith-based living, and/or conservative or traditional values. The show is called Life Lessons with Miss Hagy, and it features the one and only Teresa Hagy as your host. We won't waste loads of time with a lengthy introduction. So much of it is on her websites and you can just read about it there, but we will say this. Teresa Hagy, native of the wonderful state of Tennessee, is a woman of faith and education, not only teaching others, which is what she spent her life doing, still does in Sunday school, but you'll hear more about that in a little while. But it's not just about what she's taught others, it's about what she learns herself, about the many subjects that surround us in today's world. She's a naturally curious person and a veritable sponge for information. Above all, she loves children, always has. I mentioned Sunday school. She spent much of her professional life as an elementary educator. She is the owner and founder of the company Hagyography, a multi-purpose educational system that you may have seen advertised in Times Square, New York City, or somewhere in the news over the years. But without further ado, here is the woman of the hour, your host, Teresa Hagy. Hello, Teresa. How are you?
Fine. I hope you are too.
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm so excited that this is finally happening, that your show is beginning. Yeah. Teresa, as a conservative woman, did you detect a heavily liberal agenda back in the day? Do you observe one now, looking in from the outside? Tell me about that.
Oh, definitely now. Definitely. That's more than I saw it becoming more liberal, but, you know, what happened in the past few years is definitely more.
Okay.
And I'm concerned.
Now, when you say you saw it a little bit back in the day, how little did you see it? Was it almost unnoticeable, or?
Well, I think just maybe allowing things that we thought shouldn't be in the schools. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Also, well, we're going to get to the pledge the flag deal. That's something I'm thinking of too.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in a little while for sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so you saw it coming in a way, but you didn't realize how bad it was actually going to get.
I never dreamed it would be where it is now. The people that listen to this commentary probably need to know that I live in a Twin City.
Oh yeah.
And I did all that teaching in Virginia, but I live in Tennessee.
There you go. And
I've been in both states.
That's an important part of your story too, ongoing, is that you do live in a Twin City, and you know Virginia pretty much just as well as you know Tennessee, so you know what goes on in both places, and that's going to be important not only to this episode but to the future ones as well, especially as the nation keeps changing. Why do you think more people don't stand up against the things that they are not comfortable with, the things that they know are wrong?
Nowadays, the times we're living in, perhaps fear of being attacked physically by those that disagree with them. Okay. And maybe fear of being made fun of. And maybe fear it will affect their being successful, and maybe that they won't fit in with peers. They just, go with the flow.
Right.
I've got my beliefs and I will stick with them, and
well, that's
just I don't go with the flow.
That's one of the most important things about you, is that you do march to the beat of your own drum, even if it is unpopular at times. You're a woman of principle and values, and that's admirable, more and more in today's world.
I admire any parent who would especially question what their child is being taught in school. Mm-hmm. Of course, it wasn't that questionable for years. Right. We knew what children learn, and now it's totally different. But to me, teaching racism has no place in our schools today. Mm-hmm. Parents need to work and train their child at home and to deal with that. When I've taught children of many races and never paid attention to that. I love them just because they're a child I'm teaching.
Most people, they don't give it a second thought. They just want to live their lives. They view people as equal in God's eyes. Is there any good that could come from having CRT or CRT concepts in our schools? Explain.
No, I don't think so. Like I said, children need to be taught that all lives matter and that we should love and respect others regardless of color. And I was listening to a news item the other night and I was just appalled to hear that in some schools that this was actually going on, that they were doing like dramas with the children and the children had to act out that they were slaves. We don't have slavery today in that way, and that young children would not really understand it anyhow. And that is, well, to me, that's opening a can of worms.
Now, some schools have done away with the Pledge of Allegiance. Why do you think that is?
That's a touchy subject with me. I think a lot of the criticism that I've heard comes from the phrase, one nation under God, because, I really hate to say it, but that's a lot of the problems in our country and our world today, because people have turned away from God. And of course, our country was found one nation under God.
Right.
And they think that it should be removed from the pledge. I really look at, for that to happen any time. And I think this kneeling before the flag and the way they carried on at these ball games has not helped. And children should need to be taught at home and at school to respect their country. And saying that pledge daily ingrains that in them. Now, I do know that it is still said in Bristol, Tennessee, Virginia. I live across the street from an elementary school, and at 8:10 every morning, you can hear the intercom of the whole neighborhood.
Oh, really?
And I'm the principal leading the children in the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, I remember teaching, we used to also do the national anthem, and then they cut that out. But I taught all the children that I taught, even little ones, the national anthem.
Wow.
And they would sing that with me, and they knew the words, and we went over all that it meant. And of course, I'm very patriotic, and I was raised that way. But
yes.
I think it's so important.
Many parents are moving their kids into private schools, they're homeschooling them, and in some cases, they're even leaving their states now altogether. How do you feel about school choice? How does a family know when it's time to move on to another school or even state? And also, do people seem happy with Tennessee overall?
Well, having spent 3 years teaching in a private school, I see their value, and I wouldn't take anything for my experience of teaching in one. I think it's good to have taught in both. Mm-hmm. And then most of my career, of course, was in public school. Of course, naturally, I'm a strong supporter of public schools.
Right.
And I can also see why parents would want their children in the best public schools and not a poor performing one. And that's always kind of been hard for me. How that can actually be, and what happens to the kids that are left and want to be poor performing too.
Right.
And I feel that I know parents are moving. We've had several move into Tennessee from other states.
Yes.
And for that reason. I have new families in my church and in my neighborhood have told me they love it here. And I think people generally seem happy with, let's say, with Tennessee and the Virginia side both here in our town, as far as we don't have all that terrible people in the schools that are in other states. You do have things happen occasionally, but nothing like what's going on in other places.